For most of the world, the metric system does a good job with measuring weights and distances. The US is still struggling along with imperial measures, but most folks seem happy measuring their height based on the length of the foot of a king who died in England hundreds of years ago, or so one story of the origin of the foot goes. Regardless of what method you use, there are common units like miles or kilometers, but there are also some much more obscure units of measure out there measuring things you never imagined. Number 10. A smoot is equal to 5 feet, 7 inches. In 2011, the people of the internet discovered the smoot when Google Earth allowed users to measure distances using it. It was nestled right between nautical miles and degrees on a drop-down menu of measures with no explanation whatsoever. Few people knew what it was, and so it inspired blog posts and a little bit of research from the curious. Number 9. A butt is an old-timey way to measure wine. You may have heard someone in passing refer to a large quantity of anything as a buttload. For instance, if you walked into a room and saw 100 cats, you might say, "That's a buttload of cats." It sounds like a sanitized but semi-dirty way of referring to a lot. But it isn't. A butt is a real measurement. A butt is equal to 2 hogsheads, which is just as unhelpful as saying 1 butt, but at least it's colorful. A hogshead is a barrel, and you can buy them for whiskey right now, if you want. 1 hogshead is 250 liters or 66 gallons. That means a butt is 500 liters or 132 gallons. That, in turn, means that a buttload is a lot. That's backed by science. Number 8. Slug is a unit of mass. Slugs aren't just slimy guys living under dead logs, they're also units of measurement. Slug is a unit to measure mass and works out to about 32.2 pounds or 32.17 at sea level. What do you measure with slugs? You need to get into physics for that. Number 7. The word Megadeath refers to nuclear death tolls. Have you ever heard of 80s metal band Megadeath? Their name is, well, metal. Very metal. So metal that probably few people ever wondered where it came from, because it sounds like the kind of compound word any metalhead in the 80s might have thought up after a night of beers with buddies. But that's not the case. Megadeath is not a made-up band name. It's a unit of measure which, by definition, is now the most metal unit of measure ever. Number 6. A quil is a measure of surreality. People tend to overuse the word surreal when describing pretty much anything that isn't completely mundane. Trips are surreal, getting a job is surreal, and meeting a celebrity is surreal. In basic terms, the word just means something weird or bizarre, but more properly it should refer to something that seems separated from reality, like a dreamscape. Surreal things are not rational. Number 5. A noggin is either a half pint or quarter pint. If you're the sort of person who likes to drink but also has a keen interest in how much they're drinking, then you may be aware of the noggin. A noggin is a unit of measurement that works out to about a half pint, except when it doesn't. It was also a quarter pint for a while, and then they upgraded it. It's also the same as a gill. None of this is confusing, right? Number 4. Poronkusema is how far a reindeer can walk before it needs to pee. Did you know that reindeer cannot walk and pee? That's significant for Finnish reindeer herders because it gave rise to the measurement called the Poronkusema. 1 Poronkusema is the distance a reindeer can travel before it needs to pee. It's about 7.5 kilometers, or 4.7 miles. The fact that this remains so remarkably consistent that they could set a measurement by it is pretty impressive when you think about it. Number 3. Millihelen is a tongue-in-cheek measurement of beauty. Scientists often have a geeky sense of humor, and that led to the creation of the Millihelen, which is a unit of beauty measurement. The Helen here is Helen of Troy, who, according to legend, was quite beautiful. The face that launched 1,000 ships, they called her. Appropriately, then, Millihelens deal with the beauty needed to launch 1,000 ships, where one single Helen gets the job done and less beautiful folks must deal in the Millihelen fractions. Number 2. A micromort measures a 1 in a million risk of death. We covered the horror of a Megadeath already, but there's another cutesy horror in the world of death, and that's the micromort. Isn't it adorable? Like a tiny little grim reaper. While a Megadeath is 1 million deaths, a micromort deals with the risk of death, and, in this case, 1 micromort equals a 1 in a million chance to die. One study during COVID-19 suggested that deaths from illicit drugs rose to 1 micromort per day, up from 0.5 the year before. Number 1. Batman is a unit of measure from the Ottoman Empire. The single greatest unit of measure in mankind's history is the Batman. A Batman weighs 16.7 pounds, so it's clearly not the bulked-up Christian Bale version. It also dates back to the 14th century, so that makes it closer to Adam West.